Hello, hello. So sorry about the background noise. Thank you for joining. Yeah, somebody's there. All right. I just want to make sure that you can hear me okay. There's a bit of background noise here, so if it's difficult to hear me or the internet is too slow, please let me know. All right. Hello, hello. Want to make sure it's gonna die. Want to make sure that you're able to hear me okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
I know there's a bit of background noise, so if it's a bit too much, just let me know.
Hi, Ryan. It's Janice Spancho from Canada Black-owned here.
Hey, good to see you, Janice. Thanks for making it.
All right, I'm just gonna be off the camera for a bit.
Okay, no worries. Yeah. And again, if my internet is slow or it's difficult to hear me, just let me know.
Jose Barrows, Ontario, Canada for Legal Shield.
Hey, brother. Good to see you, Jose.
Good to see you.
Excellent, excellent.
Hi, everyone. It's Rachel Lee Ricards here. I'm also staying offline, off camera.
Oh, no worries. Yes. And good to see you, Rachel Lee.
Thank you.
I feel like I'm stalking you on TikTok. I love your-
I'm just a baby on there right now. Nobody knows me. Sometimes that's good.
Awesome, awesome. And just be forewarned, this is more so open mic. So as we're talking, it could be very possible we will get Zoom bombed. If so, we'll re-up another day. Otherwise, let's hope everybody is respectful, cordial, and we shouldn't have any issues. But as you can see, it's not in a webinar style because we do want questions from the audience after the presentation. So let's see how we do. But we'll give it just one more minute. And we shall get started.
Hi, Ryan. Sandra's on.
Hey, Sandra. And oh wow, I think we're almost at, I think our capacity is 100. So you might be getting close to capacity, although I think we're gonna be okay. Oh wait. First. So Charmaine, if you can keep an eye out on the participants coming in, I will get started. Also, let me see if I can lock the unmuting. So I'll just have everybody mute for now. And let me start sharing the screen. All right. So let me test this. If you can put into the chat, if you can hear me okay, maybe just type 1 and that you can see my screen. Perfect, perfect. So again, my name is Ryan Knight. For those that might not know who I am, I'm one of the co-founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. We're designed to work with entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage, really to figure out what stage their business is in, and then help them create a strategy to grow their companies exponentially. We started about 5 years ago. I saw a gap with the business that I was running, which is called Detail Ignites. So we provide mobile waterless car cleaning, going to people's houses. And as we were growing and looking to franchise and looking to expand our company, we realized there weren't a lot of Black-focused business organizations to go to that had it in their mandate to scale their companies. So we brought 6 other entrepreneurs together, said, could we create this entity that would sit down with an entrepreneur, figure out what stage they're in, and then help them create a strategy to grow. Thus, ACBN was born. So over the past 5 years, we have been able to engage with over 5,000 Black entrepreneurs. In our recent deep dive into our database, we realized that 1,100 of them are product-based. About 71% are female entrepreneurs, and 91% are the founders or the CEOs of the company. One thing that we are really proud of is being able to partner with other Black-focused business organizations. Now we have seen that there's over 40 across Canada because we are part of the Black entrepreneurship ecosystem. So being able to have reached to close to 30,000 Black entrepreneurs. And again, when an entrepreneur comes to us, no matter what stage they're in, there is a right fit to point them to. So if they're from out of province, we're in Ontario, namely Brampton and Ajax, we can touch them, connect them to the right organization. Or if it's expertise that we don't have, we're able to plug them in. Really quickly, always love to touch on the different pillars that we do stand on. We're able, I feel entrepreneurship is the core foundation of what we do. I truly believe everybody should be an entrepreneur, whether you're a young person just starting out and still living at home, great time to test if entrepreneurship is for you, or even if you're more established. Christian, don't put it up. Sorry, just one second. Yes. So again, even if you're established and working somewhere full time, you should still have that side hustle, bringing extra dollars into the bottom line of the household. Of course, I feel entrepreneurship is one of the best tools for economic inclusion to empower the community. But what we're most focused on is that access to capital. So being able to support entrepreneurs with getting funding through loans, grants, or investment. And you'll see why that's important in a sec, as we've noticed that Black entrepreneurs are facing 4 strikes when starting our businesses. One thing we were able to do, one of the first Black labor market assessments, and really got a good snapshot of the Black entrepreneurship landscape. We noticed that 86% of Black entrepreneurs have less than 5 employees. We noticed through focus groups that 50% of unemployed people did not want to work at Black firms. Also, we did see that there's a concentration of people starting businesses in the professional services, about 25% of the 1,600 that we interviewed. And of course, we layer on systemic barriers that the federal government and the banking system has admitted that exists, which is why they created the Black Entrepreneurship Program. All this to say, one thing that was important for us is to create a microloan program. So in partnership with Alternative Savings, we were able to support entrepreneurs between, if they need $1,000 up to $25,000. You might have seen some of the posts I do about info sessions on grant writing and grants that are available for entrepreneurs. That is something that we need to take advantage of, any and every funding that is available. And again, because everyone's muted, if you're not hearing me or I'm tripping out, put a 2 in the chat and I'll try to fix that. But I think so far, so good. So when we're talking about funding, and this is why I'm hoping most of us are here, because we put out a call looking for vendors to join this new opportunity where ACBN has been working to take over one of the vacant Nordstrom locations. So the reason that this came into being is it started with this investment readiness program. So the investment readiness program is a division of the Social Finance Fund. So the federal government put forward $800 million to support social enterprises. They realized that the social enterprises weren't ready to take on that kind of investment. So they carved out a grant pool of $50 million to be able to help get entrepreneurs ready for the bigger investment. What we've seen, and thanks to SETC, which stands for the Social Economy Through Social Inclusion, there's only been, so ACBN, we became an investment readiness partner, so an ecosystem partner. So we supported getting the word out to the community and supporting them with their applications. Out of 400 applications that went to, all in all, I mean, the numbers are not great. About 4% of Black social enterprises were successful. So this is, and like I was saying, it was designed to prepare social enterprises for investment. So now we're only seeing 4% of the applications funded coming through the Black community. Now those businesses are not going to be prepared for the bigger investment, which is going to come with the Social Finance Fund. So the Social Finance Fund, which is about to roll out, is that it was 800 million. They did 2 cycles of the investment readiness program. So about $700 million is left to be rolled out over the next 5 to 10 years through this Social Finance Fund. So ACBN, I'm covering all my stuff. So we are working to apply as an intermediary, and based on what I noticed with the investment readiness program, it'll be very difficult for individual businesses or organizations to now apply for funding and be successful. One, only 4% of entrepreneurs even got the investment readiness program grant. And now we're going into a social finance fund where there's 3 layers before entrepreneurs are able to apply. So one thing that we were looking to do with obtaining this retail store, and the reason that we chose Nordstrom, we have an investment group that works together with family offices. And when I put forward this proposal, Nordstrom came up first because the government officials that we've been talking to do not want to see tourist malls with vacant prime real estate for a long time. So that's what sparked this, I'll say this opportunity and this call out, but it's going to be structured a bit differently. And I'll definitely be able to take questions after on the exact structure. But remember, this is going to be a 12 to 18 month process, because the only way that we were able to get the initial approvals is we have to go as a block. So if 400 individual vendors try to apply for the Social Finance Fund, if numbers repeat themselves, only about 4% will be successful as it's spread out. But if we come as a block of 400 vendors as a collective unit, our chances for approval for the funds that we would need would be higher. And this is why we want to make sure that we work with up to 400 entrepreneurs that are selling products over the next 6 to 12 months, so that when this opportunity and the funding is all set up and ready to go, we are prepared. And one thing to mention, Nordstrom vacant locations isn't the only option. We are looking at additional options, also looking to purchase a property. We are looking at a few buildings that are for sale to purchase. And also Nordstrom, I mean, that would be kind of a signature location, but it isn't the only option that we have. And just to break down how the Social Finance Fund, I'll say, is going to roll out. So you'll see here, there's going to be wholesalers that take the funds directly from ESDC, which is the division of the government. So wholesalers had to match funds that they're getting from the government. Then the wholesalers are going to choose intermediaries to invest those dollars. So the intermediaries have to give a return to the wholesaler of about 3 to 5%. And now the intermediaries, after they get those funds from the wholesalers, can invest those dollars into social purpose organizations. So the SPOs can be for-profit social enterprises. They can be organizations like nonprofits that start social enterprises, so income generating activity from nonprofits, or it could be a for-profit that has a social cause. So the thing that I'm noticing is that it's going to be difficult for individual businesses to get the funding is because with the investment readiness program, again, we only saw 4% be successful. And now we have to control who the intermediaries are going to be. The wholesalers are supposed to be announced within a couple of weeks, but that is not an opportunity to become a wholesaler. But ACBN and other Black focused organizations, we do have, oh, Rachel, are you not hearing me? If everyone's hearing me, can you put a 1? If not, put a 2. All right. Rachel, are you hearing me now? Because I think everyone is hearing me. So I'll keep going, but if you do have a specific question, I'll circle back. So what I'm saying is how this is structured is going to be very difficult for the Black community to get funding if we're not strategic. So now we're looking at this process. ACBN does have an opportunity to insert ourselves as an intermediary and put forward proposals on how we're going to be able to distribute funds. So now this is where this opportunity comes into play. Let me just see. So when we talk about reaching out to vendors and potentially being in a retail store, again, Nordstrom is top of the list, but that's not the only option that is available. We are going to be accepting startups or established businesses. You do have to complete the vendor application. So if you haven't completed that, we will definitely send out a reminder to complete the vendor application form. There will be a discovery call with one of our business advisors. And we would want to see that you have a completed business plan. So if there's a question, just on the last 2 slides, and then I'll open it up for questions. Unless it's about this specifically, then I don't mind. Is it about this slide that I'm on, Karen? Or did you want to wait till the end? Okay, cool. All right, great question. So if I go back, you'll see, so we are not charging for vendor space. And I'll touch on that as I finish, and then I'll address that question directly. So this is the initial criteria that we're asking of vendors. So making sure that they finish the vendor application, they go through a discovery call with one of the business advisors, they would have a completed business plan and cash flow projections. If they did need support with that, that's what ACBN and some of our ecosystem partners are designed to do. We would want to see that you're part of, like you do have supply chain management software. We would want to see that you've been participating with one of the current Black focused stores at least between 3 to 6 months. If not, we would want to see some sort of engagement there. But we are talking with some of the Black focused business stores, Black focused vendor stores, to see how we can coordinate on having vendors be part of their stores and then be able to graduate into the bigger store. You do see that it is encouraged that you become an ACBN member. It is not mandatory, but that would allow for us to work with you long-term. But again, that would not be mandatory. So as we've been putting this together, again, the reason that we wanted to support the retail space is because ACBN has been investing into a payments platform, payments processing platform called PaySprint. So this is why ACBN MarketPlace did come to be, because part of the payment processing service that we've been creating in partnership with the team at PaySprint is the ability to create a marketplace. So this is something that we did want to introduce to the community to save on processing fees that you might be paying right now. But again, this is more of a long-term process, but I wanted to explain why ACBN started to venture into the vendor marketplace, because we do want to support products, people that are selling products with a payment processing service. And then when we have that support, we'd be able to have them in our marketplace just so that we can give visibility to entrepreneurs that are using the platform. Another reason is that ACBN was funded to create a marketing agency to support entrepreneurs that we're working with. So entrepreneurs are able to go through our Creative Works agency, get support with creating their marketing strategy, getting help with content creation. We are able to do data analysis. We have a team that can do social media management for you, email marketing, printing promotional items. We want to be a full service agency. And what we do is actually work with existing marketing entrepreneurs that do marketing services. So we're able to get preferred rates with those entrepreneurs because you're coming through ACBN and being part of our agency. So as I wrap up the initial presentation, the ask of you would be, one, research the Social Finance Fund. And as I send out the presentation and the recording, we'll make sure that the links are there so you can check it out. But a quick Google search will pull up the Social Finance Fund. I would ask you, if you're interested, to fill out the vendor application form and also to complete our business needs assessment. So if you do need support with your business plan or cash flow projections or marketing in general, we'd be able to support you as we're working towards the goal of setting up this retail store. And if you do need support, if you do know that you need help with your business plan, I would connect with the BBPA, which is the Black Business and Professional Association. They have a program called BAIDS, where they'll partner you with a service provider that does business plans, and BAIDS covers the cost for you. So that's one option. Another one is the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce, or CBCC for short. And you'll be able to go through the process of getting support to build your business plan. So that is the initial presentation. Again, links and contacts will be shared, but I do want to open it for questions. I did see a few come through. So it'll be easier if you do have a question, raise your hand, and then I can unmute you and you can ask your question. But let me check on some of these questions first. So I think I answered the one. Somebody said I can't hear. So how much will it cost the vendor per month? So as I mentioned, there wouldn't be a specific cost to be in the store per month. We wouldn't charge for shelf space. With the funds that we're putting forward for the proposal, we would be able to purchase at wholesale from the vendors, but ideally we'd be purchasing from existing stores that already have vendors, so they would become our pipeline. If you're not in a store, we would encourage you to join one of the current stores, and then we would be an additional marketing arm or potential for sales. Oh, and I can take this. Let me check the next question. I can't hear. Is one, if one has not participated in a storefront before, can they still apply? Yes. So what we would encourage is that you connect with one of the current Black focused stores and then kind of build up some credibility, some track record, because we would use that as a reference before jumping directly into the new venture. But there is an opportunity, if that's not possible, if the other stores are full, we would have to work with you. Let's see, if one has not participated, okay. What do you mean by participating in a Black business? So currently, I believe there's 4 Black focused stores in the GTA. Those would be the Black focused businesses that I'm talking about. So you wouldn't go directly into this program. You would have to be participating in one of the other store programs first. And one question, why open another marketplace in Mississauga, Toronto, or out east where there's Black-owned stores in those areas? Correct. So that is why we're not opening to compete. We are actually talking with the store owners to see how we can create this as a joint venture. Our focus is the actual online marketplace. The retail store, that was more because we were working with a current store that didn't exactly materialize great, and I can go into that story if there's questions about it. But right now, our focus would be the online presence and supporting the current stores and designing what a new entity, if we had additional dollars, could look like. Right? Will these all be included in the email you send out? Yes. Will there be a recording of the presentation? Yes. All right. So Janice, I'll jump into your question in a sec. I did see there were some questions. So let me allow those to ask your question. And then Janice, I'll jump into your question about the existing vendor marketplaces. So Lalu,
Laulu.
yes, go ahead.
Yes, so I was wondering, do you have any records of any like past entrepreneurs or businesses that have been funded through this program?
Sorry, say that last part again.
So do you have any history or records of any like past entrepreneurs or businesses that have been funded through this program? Or is this like a new program?
Okay, so the program that I'm talking about, the Social Finance Fund, it hasn't been launched. The previous program, the Investment Readiness Program, there was only 4% of entrepreneurs. So about 30 Black businesses that got funded through that program. And there is a list on the Investment Readiness Program website. So I can include that in the link if you wanted to see what other organizations got funded.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Thanks.
Okay, no problem. Cleone, I see you next. You can go ahead.
Okay, I just like to know, so why are you choosing not to take a fee from the vendors or a percentage of the sales?
All right, great question. So we are structured as a nonprofit. For the online marketplace, we were debating if there would be a percentage, more so either an affiliate fee for helping to make a sale or increasing, like marking up the cost by, let's say, 10 to 15%. But for the actual retail store, we would be purchasing the products. So we wouldn't need, because the funding that we are applying for, we wouldn't need to charge a fee for shelf space. We could actually purchase the products and really just market the location.
So will you be, so when you purchase the product, so like for instance, say I'm selling sweaters or whatever.
Right.
And are you buying it from me, the wholesale price, or are you buying it from me at the retail price, or like how would that work?
We would be encouraging you to have wholesale pricing, yes.
Mhm.
And as I mentioned, we want to actually purchase through existing Black focused stores. So whatever the cost at that store would be is what we would purchase it for.
Ah, I see. So you're trying to first encourage us to get into these stores, and then you would purchase from those stores.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Cleone. I think Shondell, and then Karen, and then Janet.
Hey, how you doing?
Very
Yeah,
good.
so quick question. How do we get into these Black focused stores? And secondly, like what are the criteria to get into these stores? And I mean, you mentioned before, sorry, I was at a CT scan, so I missed a bit of the beginning, but I was at one of these events for the BMO event, and yes, there's a lot of money allocated to black entrepreneurs, but there's a huge disconnect to get into this money. There's a huge hoops and hoops that we have to jump through to get get this funding. So if they're really trying to help, like why don't they allocate some of the funds to the harder part of getting into the bigger loop of the funding? So it's a two-part question. I hope you understand what I'm asking.
Yes, and it's an excellent question because that's what we've been seeing with, so this social finance fund isn't a Black focused fund. So that's why I would say the percentage of successful Black applicants has been really low. Christian. So the percentage of Black focused organizations and businesses getting funded has been really low. I think you're talking about more so the Black loan programs, those that the banks have created. There's Face Coalition that's created one. And again, we have a microloan one and Alterna has one with BDC. We're seeing a lot of entrepreneurs being declined by these banks that. So we're seeing a lot of entrepreneurs being declined. So this is where I can't speak to how we can increase the amount of loans that entrepreneurs are getting. This social finance fund isn't specific to the Black community, so there's no, the only way that we can direct funds specifically to the Black community is for Black intermediaries to get the money from the wholesalers, and then we can decide how to divvy it up. So there's multiple options. You can apply on your own. So once intermediaries are set, they're gonna have their criteria, and then people can just apply on their own. Or we can create a block of entrepreneurs that create a joint proposal that I feel would have a lot better success of being approved. And then we would be able to work amongst ourselves to understand how we divvy it up and use it to support our businesses. But you still have the option to just apply on your own to any intermediary that is selected. And let me know if that answered your question. I think you muted Shonda. I'll come back to you in a sec. Karen, you can go ahead.
Hi, everybody. It's Karen. I own one of the Black-owned stores for everybody who's asking. This one's Black-owned Toronto. Here's my concern. So I know that you said that you want to work with the existing Black-owned stores, and there are many of us in major malls to pull our vendors directly from our store. But my concern is, I know you're trying to get everybody to come together to apply to get this funding to build one ginormous store. But why would we not come together to pull this funding and put it into existing Black-owned stores that are already in malls, so we can start wholesaling vendors instead of being on consignment? Because I think that's a brilliant idea. Wholesale works 10 times better than consignment. But if, and I'm sure several of the Black-owned stores are in this meeting too, if we already exist and we're already small businesses and we already have our, thank you, and we already have our own struggles, why would we come together, put all of our vendors in your store, and then what are we left with at the end? You know what I mean? So I think instead of trying to build one ginormous store in Nordstrom where the rent is $500,000, we should kind of be taking this money and putting it into these small stores that already exist. Because the other Black-owned stores, Global Blacks, Canadian Black-owned, Indie Mindy, all of us, we've been working for 2+ years. We've already created these stores in major malls, and it's not easy. I'm sure all of you can agree that it's not easy for us to do these things. It costs a lot of money. So why would we all apply for you to build your own store with our vendors when we should be applying to get support for the stores that already exist? Respectfully.
Yeah, fair enough. And the main reason is the vacant locations that are coming up was what was proposed to us to take over. So at the current level and the store that I was working with, they wouldn't be able to fill that kind of location on their own. So the only way that they were interested in seeing if we could actually fill that space is if we all come together. Now, the question on how do we prop up the current locations, if we were able to get a large sum of money, we would decide amongst ourselves how best to use it. So now let's say the Nordstrom opportunity is what's presenting us getting a large sum of money. But if we decide that that's not the best use of funds, and I would say we should decide that after we get the money, then we can figure out how best to use it. But the reason that this opportunity came about was because of those vacant stores. So that's where it started. So now we have to get creative to say, if we're going to come together as a block, what's the best way that we could utilize a lump sum of money?
Okay. So how about, I like the idea of building a ginormous store, but like I said, if we already exist and we're already struggling to pay this expensive rent in the mall, would it not make more sense for us to come together to kind of build on our own businesses instead of trying to build one ginormous store? You know what I mean? And I understand the concept of like saying that we're opening a Nordstrom would be the way for us to all say we're all under one umbrella. But I also think we can all say that we are our own individual Black-owned businesses because we are. But if we already have, you know, these malls that we exist in where we already need the help, we need renovations, we need rent, we need X, Y, and Z. Like, it's kind of like we're being left behind at the end of the day, even though I know you said that you'd be purchasing the products from our stores, but it's not making sense to me. It's not making sense.
Hey, fair enough. And that's why it's going to be a long road to completion. This has to be designed as a collective. I'm presenting what the opportunity is. Like, this is what I was in the room. They were talking about this. I said, listen, the Black community could step in and actually execute this. So it's up to us if it's an opportunity that we're interested in. If we have difficulty working together or designing this, that's valid. But the opportunity exists for each individual store to apply on their own. So now, if they do, from my experience, it's a low probability of getting funded. And I noticed that not a lot of stores got the investment readiness program. So grants are out there, but the stores, for some reason, aren't getting it. We have to figure out, how do we actually get this money? After we get the money, then we can start to figure out, okay, what is best to do? That's why I proposed purchasing the products directly from the stores, because that would increase your sales and you can do with those profits what you want to do, but we have to get the money first. So we kind of have to use what's presented in a creative way to then start to design what we're going to do. But we have to design it together. It can't be ACBN, because I said we could bring everybody together and have a strong proposal. It doesn't work if we're not connected and designing it together. And so this is where, so how it would leave off if we're not able to design it together and each of the stores are looking at, hey, I need X funding, so I'm gonna apply on my own. That is an option as well. And that, yeah, that nobody is saying that the stores aren't able to get the funding. They can apply on their own as well. Oh, I think you're still unmuted.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, do you have another question? No? Janet, I see your hand is up.
Yep. Just a minute. Oh. Okay. Oops. Can you? Oh boy.
I can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay, I didn't realize
Yes.
I was on. Okay. Ryan, as usual, I give you kudos. Every time I hear something else that you have rolled out, I'm in awe. We have been around. I'm Janet Cox from Liquid Green Products. We've been in business 10 years. And as a Black business, we're nowhere where we would like to be, even though we have one of the best products in our niche on the market. So one of the things we have consciously stayed away from is the big stores because of the cost, right? So now that we have something like this, we have also tried to get in a couple of the smaller ones, but they were always full. And we sell a product that is a low item, like, $7.99, $8. So we have to choose carefully how we spend our dollars in terms of getting into some of the big stores. We like the Amazon model where we get, or the the networking type model where it's a referral based, but that can only net you so much in income. What I believe the community needs to do is, as you said it so clearly, Ryan, is we have to find ways to work together, because alone or as independent stores, we will never have the capacity, we will never have the amount of money that's needed. Heck, if Nordstrom couldn't afford to be in those stores, and they're one of the biggest retailers, we're going to have to come really good in order to make this work. So I think without listening to anything negative at this point, we need to just say, look, this is an idea. Let's find a way to make it work, because every single retailer out there, I mean, we have the green liquid show that we do every year when they were in business. They actually owe us money because they took $1,500 from us and never repaid us when the pandemic hit. So this is what is happening to small business, and we can't even find ways to fight them. So I'm looking at this as it's going to be a fantastic opportunity for small businesses to get their feet in the door. And I'm going to be behind you. I'm going to support you with everything I have, because I think this is wonderful. And thank you again for the initiative that you show with the community. I laud you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. And so, Janice, I know you had the question around, where's Janice's question? And then I've lost your question, but you asked the question around how do the current Black focused stores integrate into this concept. So as I mentioned, the opportunity came about because I was in the room listening to people make proposals about what to do with current certain amounts of money. And I said, if we were able to bring a block of vendors to that type of retail space, would that be something that's considered? They said yes. So the next stage is working with the current stores to see what is possible. It is literally a blank canvas, because we are going to put forward the budget that it would cost to run the store. So what I know is that those vacant locations is what they were interested in. If that doesn't make sense, hey, we can propose something else, but we have to create a proposal to show how many vendors could we bring together as a collective to occupy a store, because relying on another US vendor or US big box store to come up to Canada and fail again isn't a good look for our government. So they want to, well, what was proposed is that local Black-owned businesses could occupy a space like that and at high quality. So not going in there to create a flea market, but to create something of that same level. And now product-based vendors would have a store owned by the Black community that they could aspire to be in. So, and I'm sorry, I know there's a few questions. Tiana, you can go ahead and then, well, sorry, so Janice, to answer your question, we are still in that design phase. This is a 12 to 18 month project. I know some people did reach out to me and say, oh, how do I get in the store next month? It is not like that. You still have to finalize the funding. We still have to finalize the actual location that we want to be in. And we need to have at minimum 400 vendors that are of quality to be in the store. So sorry, Tiana, you can go ahead.
Hi, Ryan, thank you. Yeah, I just have a couple questions. Yeah, the first one is the caveat about having to be in a Black-owned store already to have access to be in this store. I don't think I really like that idea, just because most of the Black-owned stores, unfortunately, I understand why they have to do it, but they do charge you to be there. I haven't found any that have said, hey, we're going to put your product on there for free. I personally haven't found it. And I understand why they're unable to, having listened to Corinne, sorry. It's not cheap what they're doing, and I understand that. So that's maybe something that you can think about a little bit more, because that is not, I don't think that's a good idea. Personally, I just want to voice that. And secondly, yes. I'm just a little worried, like, is there any way we can look at the success of Black-owned business stores right now to see like how successful they are doing right now? And maybe can you share that with us? Because I don't know, like Eaton Center, Nordstrom, like replacing Nordstrom, I'm kind of worried about the location. It would be nice to kind of like get more like thorough information of how this type of store is actually doing. I personally don't know. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about that. I think it's a great idea. I like that you guys are trying to open another market space, but those are the 2 points that I wanted to kind of say.
Yeah, and I appreciate the perspective. One thing that I would say is I mentioned that we're building the payment processing system and building out the ACBN online marketplace. That would also be considered. So if you can't get into one of the current stores, you would still have the opportunity to be in our online marketplace, and that would count as a Black focused store. But we're encouraging people to get into the retail stores because you have to cut your teeth on providing inventory and being in a retail store. So it's better to be in brick and mortar so that we can see that you can kind of hold your own. The other question around how the stores are doing, that's not for me to say, that's for the other stores to comment on when the time is right. Not today, but we can see how to present that as a holistic report, because that would be important to show, hey, do we have the capacity to run a bigger high quality store? And I did see a question in the chat, do we have expertise internally to run a store of that scale? Yes and no. We have the expertise, but ACBN has not run a big retail store before. So just to answer your question there. Kanisha, I think I see you next.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Ryan. So just related to the distribution model, like Tiana just talked about with you purchasing from the current Black-owned stores, I feel like it's too many hands for one product to go through, because then you'll be up, because Nordstrom is a larger space and most of the stores cannot order the quantity that you would need. It just doesn't make sense, right? So you're going to need maybe, 50 quantities of our product, but say one of the Black-owned stores only ordered 10. So now you have to go through them to order a larger quantity from us. It just seems like too many hands in one pot. As a product that as a business that I'm trying to get my product in multiple stores outside of other Black-owned stores, is there a way for us to create a distribution model? So, find a distributor is one of the hardest things as a Black-owned business, because we don't have the large quantity sometimes to go with Annex or all these larger companies. And as a Black-owned business, my goal is not to only be in Black-owned stores. My goal is to be in as many stores across North America and Canada as possible. Is it possible to take this fund and create a distribution method for Black-owned businesses, right? So we can now get into other retailers that were not possible for us because we don't have a distributor. For some of us who are trying to get into Sobeys and Loblaws, you need a distributor. There are so many other things that are, that are blocking us from expanding our business. Personally, I don't feel like we need another Black-owned store. I think we have enough of them. We should build on those ones and then create something where we can expand our business outside of just the Black-owned stores, right? And as I'm maneuvering through all these systems, there's not a lot of Black faces in certain places. I use Fair.com, and they've been great. Fair has been keeping us going, and it is not Black stores that are buying from us. It's white, Asian, and other culture stores. And I think that would be very beneficial for us as a people to grow our business if we can tap into the other markets. So my suggestion is it possible for us to create a distribution system for us?
Right. The quick answer is yes. And that would be part of the supply chain management. You did mention too many hands in the pot, but what you described is one hand. So what we want to develop is the current stores being the initial distributors. So the funds that we'd be able to get would allow for us to purchase at a higher scale. And like you said, if the store now needs 50 from you, they would purchase 50. The fact that they're already pre-sold and are going to be in the bigger store, that for the entrepreneur isn't the big issue. What you're saying is making sure that your products can get to the store shelves.
More stores outside of Black-owned
Right.
stores.
And I also never mentioned that the store that we're building is Black focused. So it is what stores, the vendors that we are targeting are Black to start, but it's not focused on Black people shopping there. So we need to be careful on shortchanging our community in our ability to execute. Yes, it's nice to be in the Loblaws and the Sobeys and the Walmarts of the world, but what is the Black equivalent to that? Right now, I don't know what it is. So I'm saying, let's build it. It's great to want to be in Loblaws. They have their process. We can build something equivalent so that you have that destination. And again, it's Black run. But
yeah, not taking away. Yeah, I don't want not taking away from what other, you know, what Corinne and other people have done at creating these environments for us to have spots on retail. But you know, it's wonderful that we're trying to create something that is Black led or Black focused, but we still live in the same environment where, unfortunately, Loblaws, Sobeys, Whole Foods, and all those places have a monopoly on a lot of things. We could still create, but we still need to be in those spaces for our brands to succeed, right? There's a great example of a company that I know, Whole Foods. She started off really small, getting into Black stores where she can, but she couldn't grow her business until she got into Sobeys, until she, like, you know, it was when she stepped outside of the community is when her product grew. So I'm not saying we shouldn't be in the community, but I'm saying, can we create an environment where Black companies have a distributor that can get them into these locations, that can, that can open those doors?
Saying,
yeah.
I agree. So yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah, okay. Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
I know it's still in the working phase and trying to figure out what to do next.
This is why
yeah,
we have to build with a North Star. We can't stay small. It's nice to look at the other big players happening. We also need to elevate to that level. And so again, it is not lost on me how difficult this is going to be. People like to remind me how hard and complex this is. That I hear you. I've absorbed it. I agree. It will be complex, but let's lean into complexity and actually get it done. So thank you for the question, Kanisha. Alton, you can go ahead. And I really apologize. I'm falling way behind on the text questions, the chat questions. I will make sure and save the chat and email, answer all the questions that are in the chat in a fuller email, but I did want to get to those that have their hand up. So Alton, are you unmuted? No.
Hey, come. I'm listening to something because you guys were on your.
How's that? You can hear me now?
Yes.
All right. I've made some notes here, and you know, some great points by those on the call, and you know, congrats on the new initiative that you're pushing through. I think some of it does sort of compete with the community, so I would necessarily, you know, do it the way that you've talked about, because as many people have noted, especially like even now, right? If you go into any supermarket and you see something, a price on something, you got flyers, you got Amazon, you got lots of other places that you're checking the price, and as soon as you pay a penny more, you know, you're price matching. So as someone says, if you're going to buy these products at retail from the Black-owned stores, you're going to have to mark it up in order to sell it at a profit in order to make some money. And as soon as we compare the two products and we see that the Black-owned store has it cheaper than the new Black-owned store, we're going to buy it at the cheaper place. So I don't see how buying from the current vendors is going to be helpful, because you're going to have to sell it higher and no one's going to pay more for it. At least, you know, people are astute shoppers.
Right. Careful. We actually don't know that. So we need to put together the best plan going forward. And like I said, everybody can critique the plan, but we can't discount our ability before we've even executed something to test. These are things that we would test. Pricing, all that market research, that is part of the longer term plan. I would say today, I know we want to get into the weeds on pricing and supply chain. Today is not the best day for that. Today is more so to say, this is where we could potentially go. It will be difficult. It will be complex. We will have to get creative and figure out how to do it. On the way, we have to make the best plan. But
yeah, no problem. Just a couple other questions. Will the word Black or Black owned be in the company name?
No.
Or at least the name that's on the brick and mortar store?
No.
So what will encourage people to shop at that store specifically as to support Black business?
That's like a marketing research question. You can't get, like, that's like trying to pick the logo right now. It's a bit early, but valid question, it's early though.
All right. So my other question, I think I had one last one here. Is there a way to substitute out the current Nordstrom brick and mortar that's being used to push the application in favor of the current Black owned stores, and say, instead of one brick or mortar, we have 5, and here they are in all these different cities, and we're going to partner with them to push out the same thing that you push out in Nordstrom?
Yes, that's possible.
Okay. All right. So it's not that you're going to write off
collaborative effort of all the store owners. I can't promote on behalf of the stores without their input.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it as, and probably a lot of people are because it's new, but it just seems to me it's saturation in its current form. And maybe it won't end up that way. It just sounds that way tonight, that we're gonna have, multiple Black owned stores with tons of inventory, and then another Supercenter Walmart version with tons of product. Meanwhile, we have that many customers. So unless that customer base grows exponentially,
because you're thinking about the customers that are only from a certain segment, we have to think broader than that. Also,
I know. But I'm just thinking of it though of people who.
But this is where then the thinking gets small. So as soon as the thinking gets small, I'm gonna stop you and be like, don't put yourself in that box. Let's at least let ourselves dream and create, and then we can critique what is created.
I agree with you, but I'm only coming from the angle of the Black owned products at the Black owned stores. So Black owned products tend to be used by Black people. So that's where I'm just coming from with that. So you may cater to other people with other products,
right?
But the Black owned products are normally used by Black people. Like you have certain hair products, only Black people can use them. Other products, only Black people can use them, right?
Valid, and I do want to get to some other questions, but
no problem. I'll end there.
Not true. Black people create products that are used by other people other than Black people. So again, let's not confine ourselves into limited thinking. But I do appreciate the perspective because it's needed as this is designed. But don't like strangle the water hose before we've even started drinking.
Not strangling it, but I just think that partnering with the current locations is a thought versus going with another one. That's all I'm saying. I think the current ones could use that support.
Yeah. All right. Kelsey, I see you next. Thank you, Alton. We'll talk soon. Oh, Kelsey, sorry, I have to unmute you. And again, I do know against 8 o'clock. If you do have to drop off, feel free, but I'm here to answer questions. So go ahead, Kelsey.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi. I have a Black-owned business, and we're not in stores, but we do markets every weekend. So we're constantly out there making sure we have inventory and constantly selling. So I just feel as if we have to be in the store, it will kind of limit us to not being able to get out there as much, and not saying that, like, I'm just saying being in more than one store would like limit my reach. Does that make sense? Like, yes, I'm interested in being in the big box store that you guys are looking to create, but having to get my product into one store to get into another store, I don't understand the process of that. Like, and I get you say that it's to make sure that you have products and make sure that you're selling and making the numbers. Is there a way of showing that with the markets that I do that, to show that I'm constantly making my markets and make with Black owned markets and other markets, because my business reaches outside of just the Black community? Yeah, so is there a way to show that?
Yes, there is. So that's what is preferred, but it's not the only path. So I did want to make that, I didn't say it was mandatory, but
Okay.
that's the criteria that I'm putting out there that we're still gonna design. So yes,
Okay.
that would be possible.
Yeah, and the idea I feel sounds great. Starting a box store of, not just saying that it's only going to be Black entrepreneurs, but starting a box store where we're starting with Black entrepreneurs and knowing that our reach is going to be beyond just Black people, because my product
100%.
sells beyond just Black people. That they're actually a small percentage of my business. Yes, I go to Black markets, but the customer base is beyond that, of knowing, like, reading the room and reading the what is it, the population of the environment that we're selling in, knowing that I have to appeal to everyone, but not
Yes,
everyone, and knowing who's going to buy what I'm selling. So yeah, I'll definitely be interested in seeing how this goes. And yeah.
excellent. Again, I appreciate you being here. The recording is gonna go out afterwards. I did see Jody Ann, you had your hand up, and I know you're one of the, with Nisha, one of the store owners as well. So would love to get your question in. Why am I not seeing? Oh, should be able to unmute now.
Hey, everybody. Hi, good evening. It's nice to see you all. Yeah, myself, my name is Jody Ann, like Ryan mentioned. Thank you so much, Ryan. And my partner, Anisha, we run one of the Black-owned stores called KWM, stands for Keep Wealth Melanated. We are one of the latest ones to open. So, you know, we're interested in being at the table and listening to the perspective of the people that are here. I mean, but I guess my main concern is we have a Black-owned store and we are marketing to get vendors into our store. However, what it's sounding like on the call is that most vendors, either they're not aware that our Black-owned store is here. So maybe you could help us with marketing and letting them know that we are a store that is able to support them. And then the other thing that I'm hearing is that you know, people are deterred by the consignment model. And while we would love to be able to purchase things wholesale, we just, as we're just starting out in our first quarter, we simply don't have the capacity to be able to buy things on consignment or wholesale models. So, I mean, you know, I'm here to keep an open mind and to listen to everything that's being said and how we can work together. But I think, like a few of the other folks on the call, I just don't see how structurally it does make sense. But I just wanted to say, hey, we're here, KWM. You can check out our store. We are accepting vendors. And you know, we're open to working with people. Definitely. I forgot my first question, so I just thought I'd talk. But hey.
Well, you mentioned that not everybody on the call knew that you were one of the stores. So that's really important. And because this is about awareness and seeing how to amplify what is currently there. It's just that the opportunity presented itself in a way that I kind of have to present the opportunity and then we can get creative. But going forward, now that we have a growing community of these product vendors, they need to plug into what already exists. And also remember that I never said the new store is going to be only Black focused. So this is where maybe there's been some miscommunication saying like, oh, it's going to compete with the other Black-owned stores. Like, no, those stores are specific for Black vendors. This store, I did not say it would be only Black vendors in there. The target is Black vendors to make sure that we get in this store so that we can represent. But that is not, it's not mandatory that it's only Black vendors. So that is something to keep in mind as well.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Sorry, KWM is located at Woodbine Mall. We're at 500 Rexdale Boulevard. You can follow us online at KWM Boutique or Keep Wealth Melanated. Thank you.
Put the link in the chat, please, and thank you.
Okay, I'll drop it in the chat. Thank you.
I'll send it out as with the follow-up. All right. So thank you so much, Jody and Anisha. Tamara, you can go ahead. And then SA, I'll get to you next. Oh, Tamara?
Hi, Ryan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You can go ahead.
Fantastic. So good evening, everyone. I think my first question would be, do you have a team together for this already? Because I think coming to do this today is a bit premature, and that's what I think. The easiest way to get around a few of these things is to put together a team to figure out, a lot of the issues that have been raised today. Because I think that if you had a team to properly conceptualize all of the things that have been raised today, it would be a case of you presenting a foolproof system to everyone. That way, it's easier for people to get a full picture and then buy. Having this conversation, I understand the concept and the reason behind it, but I think it will be better if you have a team of experts that are that pretty much analyze the opportunity and then begin to find out solutions to the loopholes that we probably face along the way. And then I'd probably like you said, it's a 10-month journey. Probably 10 months, it becomes public to all the vendors. And at that point, it's a solid plan. It's no longer just an idea. It's a solid plan. And then it's easier for people to, to buy in and embrace the opportunity that you're presenting. So my advice would be, let's go back to the drawing board, put together a team to begin to, conceptualize and create all the framework and every single thing you need to make this happen. And then once that is done, you can now begin to make it public for all the vendors and everyone, every single person on this call to participate. Because everything I'm hearing right now, it's just, oh, we want to do this. There is no clear plan as to how it's going to happen. And that's why you're having questions like the one raised by, I think it was, I can't remember her name, like one of the Black store owners earlier, right? So that's what I think. Let's get back to the drawing board, put together a solid team, figure out, every single part of this whole idea, cross your T's, dot your I's. And I think it's a fantastic idea. It's just a case of let's take the first step and then we'll move to letting the whole Black community know what we're trying to do.
So this is where I think I don't communicate it properly, is I'm very transparent. So before we make a plan, I want to know who's in. So this, we're before that. We already have internal experts and all that team to put together the full plan. We could launch a store and just run it ourselves. But what we're doing is actually bringing it to the community to say, how can we design something together? So you're 100% correct. This wasn't to bring the final plan of what we're doing. This is to bring what is possible. There's money out here that we can get to execute this.
Absolutely.
And then based on who's in, now we create the plan. We can't create the plan and just bring it to people and say, this is what we're doing. I don't think that works. So I'm 100% in agreement with what you're saying.
Yeah, I agree with you and I understand the reason behind it. However, so I give you the example of Face Coalition, right? I was part of the very guys at the very beginning when Face was created. So the whole idea behind Face Coalition was, to emancipate the whole Black community, provide funding. However, in the planning and the putting together, and I understand that you're very transparent, which is fantastic and great. However, it's also very important that when you're trying to push something this big, that you don't just come to everyone and say, oh, hey guys, this is what I'm trying to build. how I think a better strategy would be to have your team, right? Pretty much guys that are on the same page with you, build a system, build a plan. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be ready, but it has to have figured out, every single part of the, not every single part, most part
Right,
of,
because that's
of the
where,
equation.
remember,
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
Space didn't invite people to help design it. They came out with their plan. So it's completely different. Like when you come out and the plan might be flawed, they're already set in their plan. So
But at least you made a plan, right? At least you made a plan as a guest. Now what we're doing is it's just an open floor. Oh, this guy is saying what is right. He's only saying, oh, guess what? I don't think this makes sense. But if you had, and funny thing is, success is such a very powerful tool that if you have a team and this thing works, you will see every single person lining up to come to your store, right? So for me, I mean, this is my personal opinion, right? Let's get back to the drawing board. Pick out a few guys, a few strong team members, right, that have strong presence in the community, and then create a plan. So that way you don't have everyone on the call trying to bring ideas. It's more like people representing the different blocks that we have around. And then we would have created like a solid plan. And then we can now begin to present to our individual comments and say, oh, guess what, guys, this is an opportunity that we have created.
But this is where I'm saying you're talking about the next phase after this. You can't do that without doing this first. It's been tried before and it doesn't work. So you're talking about the team going to the drawing board. That is in motion. It's now, we want to have the conversation first, because if nobody's interested, why are we bringing a team to the table to create anything? We can't create something that nobody wants. So we have to have this conversation first to see where people are at, what are their ideas, where are they feeling? People are saying like, yo, why are we even doing this? Those questions have to be answered first before we create a master feasibility study that's going to say why this store works when nobody wants that store. So I'm with you, but that's
solid point. Yeah.
Yes.
Solid. All right. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, appreciate you. Nicole, did you want to go next?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think it's a great initiative. Once the plan is executed properly, I see that great. My question though is, you mentioned that this is not Black focused. However, if we are a Black vendor, then one of the criteria is being available at a Black owned store. But at the same time, it's not a Black focused program. So how does that work? Even for other vendors or businesses that are not Black owned, does every business have to be at a store?
So this is where that type of criteria we have to design. How do we let other non-melanated folks cooperate and collaborate with us? We actually have to figure out what we want to do first. Then we can figure out, okay, how do we open this up? So as I said, our target and our focus is the Black community first, but it's not closed off to other opportunities. But as a community, we have to decide amongst ourselves, okay, do we want this only Black owned? Then we can go that path, but that's cutting us off, I would say, from other opportunities. So nothing like this, I'm just making sure that people aren't constricting our creativity by staying in a certain box. There's a lot of opportunity, the funding is out there. We can design what is best for our community because we have that ability to design it from scratch.
Okay, thanks. But okay, so if we are vendors and we're already available at some other Black-owned stores already, then if the model is to order from them at wholesale, then they probably may not have the time to focus on their own business, because then the demand is super high. And suddenly they are sort of like a wholesaler or distributor. So I guess maybe that's something to also define as well.
Yes, 100%. A person getting increased sales and being too busy is a problem that I want them to have. Thank you, Nicole. Michael, we'll get you to go next. Oh,
Hi, can you hear me?
yes.
So, Ryan, this is a very fantastic idea. I see the connection between actually exposing Black businesses to the wider public, the wider consumers, because the Black products I see is not just meant for us because we're used to our products, we know our products. So the main thing is to introduce our products to other people. But in considering a lot, did you guys consider the rack stores as well? Are the rack stores considered based on their locations? Because there's a Nordstrom, which is a full line store, and there's a Nordstrom rack. And most of them, they are located in different areas, and some of them are very strategic, like the Nordstrom rack on 731 Young Street. It's close to Yorkville, Danforth, and you have a whole lot of consumers there who really want to know about Black products. So in considering the cost of running these buildings, like the Eaton Center, for example, is really huge. There are some other things to consider in terms of retail, like shoplifting, for example. You need to look at, for example, the Sherway Garden. The flow is, you need to consider the flow there. Yorkdale has good flow, but there are certain things like shoplifting and the POS systems, trying to integrate the POS systems together so that everything is imputed properly and other criteria. So I was just going to know if the rack stores were considered, because in terms of the cost of maintenance and the location as well, because for the full line store, there are certain stores that can just be too big and expensive to run. And also there are so many other modalities to look into, like I said, in terms of shoplifting, which has become a major problem to retail business this year. So just something I thought I think is a brilliant.
Yes, appreciate that. And yes, the rack stores are being considered. So thank you.
Okay.
All right, Shondell, is that a new hand or is that from before?
Hey, so I just wanted to say once again, thanks, man, because what you are doing, what the CCBC is doing, the base program, you guys have really definitely made a big improvement in my life in the business aspect. But I just wanted to, the numbers are just going through my head. So you're saying you have 400 vendors that you're trying to get, but you're trying to push them through 4 stores that's already in like already up and running. So I'm just thinking, like, wouldn't it be a lot to push 400 new products through a store that's not suitable for it? Like the bigger Nordstrom store, what you guys are doing is definitely capable of taking on 400 vendors. But if we have 400 Black vendors going to these local stores, which is a great idea, because I mean, we can always push for these stores to grow bigger as well, right? But then what happens to the other vendors that are not Black? Do they have to go through those Black stores also to? Yeah, I'm here with my kid, buddy. Yeah. So do you have to go through? Do they have to go through these stores, these black owned stores also? Let's say, Quentin, to get into these locations, or are these like white vendors just able to go right into the Nordstrom location? And is that kind of a setback for us as Black people, like having to jump through and white vendors have to go through those Black-owned stores? How are they going to feel about that? And then if they just go straight into the Nordstrom locations that you guys are looking at working on, isn't that a setback for the 400 of us that have to go through these Black-owned stores? And how are they able to take on these 400 new vendors?
Yes, so great question, because increasing the capacity of the stores is something that I do want to see. So how they deal with the influx, that would be a capacity building exercise. Those that are outside of our community, how they engage with us, we would design. So I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly what that criteria would look like right now. I can promise you there'll be more hoops for them than for us. So we'll see kind of how that pans out, but that is to be designed. And that's why I'm focusing on our community first. Then we'll kind of get to how we let others in. Right. Janice, I did see your hand is up. You can go ahead.
Oh, hi, everybody. So Janice Pancho from Canada Black-owned Marketplace. We're located in Pickering and in Erin Mills. So my first question is, currently we're having confusion with Toronto Black-owned and Canada Black-owned. So people confuse us. Now you're bringing in another marketplace. So we're Canada Black-owned Marketplace. You're gonna have ACBN Marketplace. That's gonna be confusing. My next question is, we have about five or four Black-owned businesses in the same area. So we have in Mississauga, myself and Black-owned TO, then you have Revealer Freak, then you have KWM, we had Indie Mindy. So why don't we look at creating something that is out of town? I don't know, Windsor, Hamilton, Oakville, just to get the Black community there. Chatham, there's a great Black community out there as well, right? So we can look at something like that. My next thing is, this funding that you're proposing to get, why not invest it in the store? That's another option. We could subsidize our vendors' shelves, because we do know our vendors have, some of them can't afford the shelf, or it's difficult for them to pay for the shelves. Help us to subsidize their shelves for them, because I'm about the vendors. I'm about trying to help them and try to get their products in so that they can make their money, right? So those are options that we can look at. And to me, concentrated another Black store within the same community that 5 of us are in, I don't know, it's a competition there, and then it's gonna be again as if we are the suppliers. Our vendors make their product in their kitchen, in their home. They can't mass produce. Some of them can't mass produce. They don't have the capacity. So how are we gonna supply you the products from them?
Yes.
You understand? We have to look at that, things like that. So
Yeah.
those are things that's going through my brain, or my, that I don't know if this is, what's gonna happen, but I'm here with an open mind as well.
Yeah,
Understand?
and you nailed it, that certain entrepreneurs right now can't mass produce. That's a problem. So we have to be able to help entrepreneurs increase their capacity. If there are bigger orders, bigger purchase orders, we can't tell our community, oh, you're too small to fulfill it. No, we have to work with them to increase that capacity. So you mentioned about possibly going out of town. I don't see that. If we look at a Nordstrom vacant lot that's in Edmonton, I'm not opposed, but it'd be more difficult to do that market research because I don't know that location. I'd have to lean on the ecosystem partners out there, but I'm open to that. And it wouldn't be called Black-owned marketplace or Black-owned anything. So there shouldn't be confusion in that sense. All right, Farrell, sorry about the waits. I think we have a few more.
Hey, no problem at all. Thank you for this meeting. This is really awesome. Oh, did I just disappear? Yeah, so this is really awesome and a great initiative. One, I wish I was wherever Anisha Hines is. It looks like they're having a great time over there. I've been watching, really cracking up. But my question is I don't know if I missed it or if you guys had discussed or explored the idea, because like the sister I just said, there's a lot of different marketplaces. Have you guys explored the idea of putting them all into one brand? So like basically making it almost like a franchise model. So then it's kind of like the best of both worlds. We can have multiple locations, but it's all one brand. So then the marketing could be heavier. The vendors, you find a way that the vendors could have their products in all the locations that are our own. And then it's a duplicatable model. You could set them up, like we said, and where you look for other smaller marketplaces across Canada, and then you rope them into the same brand. And then, you guys set the standard, you set the quality, you ensure that, as a collective, again, the whole objective is to raise the standard of how we function as melanated business owners. So we set that standard across the board, and and then help, like you said, help all the entrepreneurs who might not have the capacity, help them get more orders, help them to increase their capacity to be able to fill all the stores across Canada. That's the suggestion I have.
I love that, and it'd be interesting to hear from the current Black-owned store owners if that is in the realm of possibility. But again, that's probably for a discussion amongst themselves to see what that might look like. But I'm not against that idea. So thank you, Pharaoh. So 3 more, and then I'll, like I said, in the chat, I will grab those questions and answer them via email. Adonis. And then Tamara will close out the show.
Hi, everyone.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you for the invitation, for this great opportunity. I would like to know 2 things. I have 2 questions. First, this is only product, or you guys planning to sell service as well?
It would be products.
Oh, okay. And the other question is the business need to be physical location, or could be something online? I can hear you.
Sorry, say that last part again.
Is the business need to have a physical location, or can be something online?
They can be based online, yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you very much.
No problem. Tamara, feel free. Oh, and then Nettie, you snuck in. I'll get you after. Tamara, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say it's an innovative concept, and it's a big concept, and I appreciate this. I think this is more of a town hall where all voices are, all voices are to be heard, rather than an information session. And I think that's what's maybe setting the tone, as though something is happening and you're informing us. But what I view this as a town hall, and I appreciate that. What I'd like to ask about is for those who already own brick and mortar stores and may not be like myself, and I'm not distributed in any of those stores. So can I represent myself, and who is speaking for the brick and mortar? I feel like we, as brick and mortar owners, are a different kind of stakeholder than those who are makers, crafters, and maybe producing at a small scale. And I think that there needs to be representation at the table for us. Yes. And I'd like to also inquire about the potential of vending opportunities directly in the space. So it's not just a matter of having a shelf, but operating in the same way that you would find like a Starbucks in a Loblaws. Can you speak you probably cannot speak to that right now, but I'd like to hear more about opportunities like that as well in the future or at some point. I don't know if you can speak to it now.
Yes, because as we worded it, it's Black focused stores. I mean, even if your store, if it's Black owned, we would consider it a Black focused store. So if you're already operating a brick and mortar, you then wouldn't have to have your products in another store. That would be, yeah. As it's worded now, yes. The answer to your question is yes. And having that specific setup inside, because we're dealing with a lot of real estate, that would be an option as well. So that's something that we can definitely take offline, and as we're developing this, include that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Hawan, okay. I will let you ask the last question, then we do have to run.
Hi, Ryan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, okay, so I'm just trying to, after having to listen to everyone's questions, just trying to understand in terms of stock. So I'm a bridal wear designer, right? I work from home, I make custom-made items. Even though I'm a very fairly new business, I guess I can say that I don't have a track record to show that I've been selling consistent since I'm new. However, if I was to say, for example, be asked to provide like 50 veils, 50 overskirts, and so forth, that is something I'm able to do. So for someone like me, would I still have the opportunity to get into the storefront? Like, for example, if
Yes.
I can show you, like, I have a set number of stock to provide for the shelf space.
Yes, so there's alternative paths.
Mm-hmm.
One that we propose is, I would say, the main one that we're kind of presenting as the initial criteria, but we're still designing it so you definitely can customize it based on different people's needs and their current stage of business. So yes.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
No problem. And Nettie, feel free to close out the show. Oh, did I ask you to unmute?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm a person who likes to see the glass half full. I think from what I've heard here, it's still early days. I think I may be wrong, but I think the purpose of your meeting here was to kind of give some information. Clearly, I mean, it's not realistic to expect for you to have all the information. So the one question I have though is, if we have to get into one of the storefronts that are already there, how do you see that happening? Because they're looking for 400 people. I applied to 2 of those storefronts. I never even got an acknowledgement or response. So I can only imagine what's going to happen when all hell breaks loose. That has to be carefully managed, because it didn't leave a very nice feeling in my taste in my mouth, and I didn't even get an acknowledgement of receipt of my application to say no thanks, maybe yes, or whatever the case might be. And as I'm listening, I thought of something else. I don't know if those funds must be allocated to getting into the Nordstrom or some other like business, but there is a real sore need for a commercial kitchen for Black businesses. And most people, I mean, I have access to one, but I don't even know once I'm ready to scale up, if that will be available. So if there's any way that some of these funds could be allocated to securing our own commercial kitchen, which will help many of us scale up to the level where we can qualify or be able to take advantage of that opportunity, I think that would be money well spent.
100% agree. I do know that some of the other organizations are working in that space to bring a commercial kitchen on board. But like I said, and hold on,